Why would someone want to kill him? He was just a photographer. His life was simple, quiet. There were no enemies, no dangerous secrets, nothing. Or at least, that's what he believed. The sound of footsteps interrupted his thoughts. Jungkook looked up. Taehyung walked into the room.
His black shirt sleeves were rolled slightly, and his expression was serious. Jungkook stood up immediately. "You owe me an explanation," he said. Taehyung didn't respond right away. Instead, he walked to the table and placed a folder on it. Then he looked directly at Jungkook. "Someone placed a bounty on your life." Jungkook frowned. "A what?" "A bounty." Taehyung's voice was calm, but the words felt heavy. 1 billion won. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Jungkook laughed. A nervous laugh. "That's not funny. I'm not joking." Taehyung opened the folder and slid it toward him. Inside were printed photos. Photos of Jungkook, his workplace, his apartment, his daily routine. Jungkook's stomach dropped. These were taken without me knowing." "Yes." Jungkook slowly looked up. "So someone is paying 1 billion just to kill me?" Taehyung nodded. "And many people want that money." Jungkook's hands trembled slightly. "But why?" Taehyung's gaze shifted away. "I'm still figuring that out." Jungkook stared at him. "You kidnapped me because of this?" "Yes." "That's insane." Taehyung's voice softened slightly. "If I didn't take you first, someone else would have." Jungkook suddenly realized something terrifying. If there's a bounty, that means assassins are already searching for me. Taehyung didn't answer. That night, the mansion felt different. Too quiet, too tense. Jungkook couldn't sleep. The truth about the bounty kept replaying in his mind. Someone had offered 1 billion for his death. 1 billion. That amount could tempt the most dangerous people in the world. He turned over in bed. Sleep refused to come. Then, suddenly, a loud crash echoed somewhere downstairs. Jungkook instantly sat up. Another sound followed. Glass shattering. His heart started racing. Footsteps rushed through the hallway outside. Voices shouted. Then, gunshots. Jungkook's blood ran cold. The door of his room suddenly opened. Taehyung stepped inside. His expression was completely different from before. Focused, dangerous. "Stay here," he ordered. "What's happening?" Jungkook asked nervously. "They found you." Before Jungkook could respond, another gunshot exploded somewhere nearby. Jungkook flinched. Taehyung turned toward the guards outside. "Protect this room," he said coldly. Then he looked at Jungkook. "For once, listen to me." And he left. The door closed. Jungkook's heart pounded wildly. He couldn't stay still. His curiosity and fear pulled him toward the door. Carefully, he stepped into the hallway. Downstairs, chaos erupted. Gunfire echoed through the mansion. Jungkook slowly moved toward the staircase. Then he saw something that shocked him. Taehyung. He stood in the center of the living room surrounded by armed men. But he looked completely calm. One assassin rushed toward him. Taehyung moved faster. With brutal precision, he disarmed the man and knocked him unconscious in seconds. Another attacker fired a gun. Taehyung dodged and returned fire. The entire scene was terrifying. This wasn't the quiet man Jungkook had spoken to earlier. This was a mafia leader. Cold, lethal, efficient. Jungkook's breath caught in his throat. Taehyung noticed him suddenly. Their eyes met across the room. Anger flashed in Taehyung's expression. "What are you doing here?" he shouted. Before Jungkook could answer, a gunshot rang out. A bullet came straight toward the staircase. Taehyung reacted instantly. He ran forward and pushed Jungkook down. The bullet hit the wall behind them. Jungkook gasped. Taehyung grabbed his arm. I told you to stay in the room. Another gunshot echoed. Taehyung dragged him behind a pillar. Don't move, Taehyung ordered. Then he stood up again. Within minutes, the gunfight ended. The assassins were defeated. Silence slowly returned to the mansion. But Jungkook's hands were shaking. He had never seen violence like that before. And the most shocking part, Taehyung had protected him the entire time. Later that night, the mansion became quiet again. The injured guards were taken away. Broken glass was cleaned. But Jungkook couldn't calm down. He sat on the couch in the living room, replaying everything in his mind. The gunshots, the chaos. The moment Taehyung shielded him, a door opened behind him. Taehyung walked in. His shirt sleeve was stained with blood. Jungkook immediately stood up. You're injured. It's nothing. Taehyung walked toward the bar and poured himself a drink. Jungkook frowned. That's not nothing. Taehyung didn't answer. But Jungkook walked closer anyway. Let me see. Taehyung raised an eyebrow. You hate me. That doesn't mean I want you bleeding everywhere. Taehyung hesitated, then slowly rolled up his sleeve. A deep cut ran across his arm. Jungkook winced. That needs stitches. I've had worse. Jungkook sighed and grabbed the first aid kit from the cabinet. Sit. Taehyung looked surprised, but he sat down. Jungkook carefully cleaned the wound. His fingers were gentle. For a moment, the room became quiet again. Taehyung watched him silently. You should have stayed in your room, Taehyung said. Jungkook didn't look up. You saved me. Taehyung didn't respond. Jungkook finally looked at him. You could have let me get shot. Taehyung's eyes darkened. I wouldn't. Why? Taehyung stayed silent for a long moment. Then he said quietly, because you're the reason they came. Jungkook frowned. But you're the one who kidnapped me. Yes. Then why protect me so much? Taehyung's expression softened slightly. Because if you die, he stopped himself. Jungkook waited, but Taehyung never finished the sentence. Instead, he stood up. You should sleep. And he walked away, leaving Jungkook alone with 1,000 new questions. But one thing had changed. For the first time since the kidnapping, Jungkook no longer saw Taehyung only as his captor. He saw the man who had risked his life to save him. And that realization made his heart feel strangely heavy. Days turned into weeks. And somehow, Jungkook was still there, still inside the mansion, still under the watchful eyes of guards, still trapped with Kim Taehyung. But something had changed. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was familiarity. Later that evening, they sat in silence in the living room. Jungkook flipped through his camera photos. Taehyung read a file. Peaceful, almost normal. Until, why did you choose this life? Jungkook asked suddenly. Taehyung didn't look up. I didn't. Jungkook frowned. What does that mean? Taehyung closed the file slowly. It means I was born into it. Silence filled the room. Jungkook watched him carefully. For me, Taehyung continued quietly. Violence wasn't a choice. It was survival. Jungkook's chest tightened slightly. That explained a lot. You don't look like someone who enjoys it, Jungkook said softly. Taehyung's lips curved faintly. I don't. Another silence. But this one felt different. That night, Jungkook lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't stop thinking about Taehyung. The way he fought, the way he spoke, the way he protected him. This is crazy, Jungkook whispered to himself. He was supposed to hate him. He did hate him, right? Jungkook wasn't supposed to enter Taehyung's office, but the door was slightly open, and no guards were nearby. Just a quick look, Jungkook muttered. He stepped inside. The room was quiet, neat, organized, but something caught his eye. A stack of files on the desk. Jungkook hesitated, then picked one up. His eyes widened. Orphanage funding report. He flipped through it. Large amounts of money. Monthly donations. Another file. Hospital support program. Another. Shelter reconstruction fund. Jungkook froze. What? This didn't make sense. Taehyung was a mafia leader, a dangerous man. So why was he helping people? You shouldn't be in here. Jungkook jumped. Taehyung stood at the door, watching him. Jungkook quickly held up the files. What is this? Taehyung's expression remained unreadable. Put it down. No. Jungkook stepped closer. You're funding orphanages, hospitals, shelters. Taehyung didn't answer. Jungkook's voice softened. Why? A long silence followed. Then Taehyung walked into the room. I clean up messes, he said quietly. Jungkook frowned. What does that mean? Taehyung's eyes darkened. People like me create chaos. His voice dropped. So I fix what I can. Jungkook stared at him. This wasn't the answer he expected. You're not a monster, Jungkook said before he could stop himself. Taehyung froze. Don't say that, Taehyung said quietly. Why not? Because you don't know me. Jungkook stepped closer. Then let me. Silence. Dangerous. Taehyung looked away first. You shouldn't get involved in my world. Jungkook whispered, maybe I already am. The storm came without warning. Thunder echoed across the sky. Rain slammed against the windows. The entire mansion felt darker. Jungkook stood near the balcony watching the storm. His thoughts were a mess. Everything about this situation, everything about Taehyung. None of it made sense anymore. Footsteps approached behind him. You'll get sick standing there. Jungkook didn't turn. Why are you doing this? Silence. Then doing what? Jungkook finally faced him. Protecting me. The thunder cracked loudly. Risking your life fighting for me, keeping me here. His voice softened. Why? Taeyong didn't answer immediately. He just stood there, watching Jungkook, as if deciding something. Then he stepped closer. Because you saved me. Jungkook blinked. What? Another step closer. Years ago. Jungkook's heart started beating faster. I don't remember. You wouldn't. Taehyung's voice was quiet now, almost vulnerable. It was raining. Jungkook froze. You found me in an alley, bleeding, half dead. Fragments of memory flickered in Jungkook's mind. A rainy night. A stranger. Blood. You called an ambulance. Taehyung continued. You stayed until I was safe. Jungkook's eyes widened. That was you. Taehyung nodded slowly. I never forgot. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. You remembered me all this time? Jungkook whispered. Yes. A long silence followed. Jungkook's chest tightened. All this time, he did it because he wanted to protect him. Look, Jungkook stepped closer. You could have just told me. Look, Taeyong shook his head. Look, you wouldn't have believed me. Maybe not. Look, thunder echoed again.
They were standing so close now. Looked too close. Jungkook could hear Taehyung's breathing. Looked, feel the warmth of his presence. Look, Jungkook took a slow breath. Look, this is insane, he whispered. But Taehyung's lips curved slightly. I know, but neither of them stepped back. Why risk everything for me? Jungkook whispered. Taehyung's answer was soft. I owed you my life. But that's not the only reason, he said quietly. Taehyung didn't respond, but his silence said everything.